want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye, Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic type.
You didn't crawl out from under no rocks. You didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys. You wait till you stick pinko meat in.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed. You've seen me pissed. This is way, way beyond pissed.
Now it's a party!
Don't try to be funny, will you, meathead?
All right. Hello, brother. Hello. How we doing?
Welcome. I love that. That's a good opening. That's awesome,
it's the second week we've had it. We're gonna be adjusting it next week. So don't get too
add maybe one of your old openings, one of the really, really good songs.
I might use some of the music or the background and adjust the. No, I think I'm going to change it all up. A lot of them have a lot of curse words. By the way, tonight is not going to be a super clean video because we do have some video that we're going to be showing, which is not us cursing, but it is in the background.
For historical purposes.
It is historical purposes. That is 100% accurate. We should start off by there's this week we have so what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be starting out with the Open New Jersey update. That's going to be followed by the
new feature.
The what's that?
The new feature you have?
Oh, I have the new feature surprise coming your way, and then we're going to do you're going to do a section on slavery, correct?
Yes, the history of slavery.
Then I'm going to do Portland, what's going on with Portland, and then you're going to finish up with the cancel culture and the VP pick, correct?
Cancel the cancel culture and
cancel the cancel culture, which we actually talked about a couple weeks ago, and one of the representatives was watching and decided to use our idea. So let's start off with tonight's.
We take credit. I'm not saying we take credit, but we're taking credit.
We're taking credit because we came up with the idea before he mentioned it. So I mean, I'm sure maybe it spread to somebody else, and then somebody else had it, and then
obviously he's listening.
Obviously, he's listening. Yeah, he's a good representative. He is a good representative. Besides, so all right. Let's start with. Let's see if this pops up. There we have a freedom rally this Thursday at 10 a.m. at the Capitol building. I'm going to encourage everyone who is watching this to share this with your friends. We need to make sure that we make a presence down there. This is about opening New Jersey. This is about getting pulling back. This is sending a message to the legislature in New Jersey that we need to limit the governor's executive authority. His orders are hurting our state, and the only way we're going to stop this is if we draw the line in the sand. New Jersey can lead the way on this. For all the other Looney Tune governors out there who think that they own everything and they can control everything, we can lead the way in pushing back against these executive orders that these tyrants have pushed on the states. You know, Michigan has it. We have Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New York. All these states are being overrun by these executive orders, and we need to push back. So this is a chance for us to lead the way in the nation and push back against the governor through the legislature. The legislature will see the crowd, and they will get the message loud and clear that they need to stand up to the governor. So that's why it's very important for all of you, to everyone in the sight and hearing of this, need to get the message out, to get yourself down there on July 30th, which is this Thursday, and get there at 10 a.m. The bigger crowd, the better. It sends the message. And while we're on that, it's going to take me a minute here. I want to make sure that we get that message. But while we're on that message, we need to also talk about. It's going to take me a second here. Hold on.
I'll cover. I'll fill.
Here we go. This we need to make sure. In the meantime, we need to be sending messages to the NJGOP You can also send them. I don't have their email on this. This is just something I grabbed off of Facebook. We can call them, leave a message, leave a detailed message saying, "Are you going to stand for our freedom? Are you going to stand up to the governor? Are you going to stop?" This is not just about the masks. This is also about the governor's blatant demands and attacks and his executive orders. We're going to talk about in a minute about how he's going after private citizens, and he's going after their companies and their businesses, and he is clearly not in line with what the Constitution stands for, which is not surprising considering he said the Bill of Rights was above his pay grade. So we're not surprised that he's doing this. So we need to educate him and those in the legislature who are standing on his side of this argument. We need to educate them that the executive orders themselves are abusive to us. And this is just another way for you to reach out, send an email, send a message, let them know. Share this message if you want, cut it and paste it, do whatever you want. I'll be doing it tomorrow. Get this message out that we need to stop this governor and by proxy the other governors in the country who are using their executive authority to be abusive to their citizens. If the courts aren't going to step up, if the federal government isn't going to step up, in other words, if the Congress isn't going to step up to stop them, and the Supreme Court's not going to stop them, if the federal courts are not going to stop them, and the local courts aren't going to stop them, we need to stop them. We the people. It says we the people, so we need to do that. That's the update for what we're doing with the NJ, with the New Jersey Open, brother. We do have a video that I'd like to share from Ian Andrew, who's one of the owners of Attila's Gym. Let's see if I can get that up here.
That battle is still going on because I thought that was a victory in that.
No, they did have a victory. They were able to.
But they won in court.
They did win. They won their first round in court. In other words, the governor was kind enough to, or the courts. Just a little background on that. The governor has been able to get his share of. He's got this one pet judge who has been continually being the person he goes to, the judge he goes to get these court orders against Asbury Park, against the school system that was trying to do a graduation, against these guys in Belmar. This is Ian Andrew on the screen there, but this judge has been repeatedly being used by the governor as the pet judge to go after these guys, and so at one point they did win one of the rounds of this battle, and just recently, I'll let Ian can explain it much better. They just lost a very big chunk, and they've been actually having the doors of the gym off of the building so that they can't put a lock on it. This is how they have to fight. They have to, okay, so the governor's going to come down and change the locks. Let's take the doors off so there's no locks. This is now they've actually gone to the point where they're going to add a barrier instead of just a lock. But here, listen. I mean, it is. This is why we got to show up on July 30th. This is just part of the reason. Hold on a second, brother. I mean, getting that people can't hear.
Oh,
So
is that
hold
what
on
that
one
text
second.
was?
I
Because I couldn't
apologize,
hear it either.
everybody. Oh, you should have said something, brother. You
Well,
should have said something.
I don't know any technical stuff. Namaset is all I can say. Namaset.
Here, I'll do it this way. This might work better. Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulty. You know, we do have those every once in a while.
I got a lot to say. This is a quick update here from Tillotson and Belmar, and then I have to get moving because the county prosecutors are on their way to come change our locks. So we just lost our contempt of court case. We knew that this was going to happen. The prosecution's case was extremely weak. It was based on circumstantial evidence and had nothing directly tying us to a violation of Murphy's executive orders. However, it still went through because that's what Murphy wants and that's what Murphy gets. So our punishment here is going to be twofold. The first one is that they are on their way right now to come change our locks or construct a barrier in front of our building so that people cannot enter. Frank and I stayed the night here last night, and we are prepared to stay inside the building no matter what. We will not be backing down under any circumstances. Members are still welcome, and if anybody wants to come support and show that none of us are going to be backing down and that we're tired of this, please come immediately. The second part of that is that we are now being heavily fined. We were heavily fined today. They didn't even tell us the actual amount yet, and then we're going to be fined every single day thereafter. So here's what we're doing. We have now moved from an LLC to what's called a PMA. We are now a private membership association, and this is our public announcement of that. All government officials who are acting on this case are being put on notice, and our PMA changes our legal status. They do not have the right to do the things that they are doing to us. And the only reason that they have had any right is that when you're an LLC, you fall under their jurisdiction. As a PMA, we are a private membership organization, and we are exercising our rights guaranteed by the New Jersey State Constitution. One of those rights is the right to peaceably assemble. Okay, so we're peaceably assembling here. They cannot stop that under any circumstances. It is a gross violation of the Constitution, which they took an oath to. So if they come after us and continue to, we will be coming after them because they took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and they are in gross violation of it from this point forward. So here's our public announcement that is now being sent to all government officials involved, including the governor, including the judges, the Attorney General, the Department of Health, and anybody else who has been weaponized against us. Any government official who steps on the property will now be notified. There is signage posted on the doors. They cannot miss it, and we will retaliate in court if they infringe upon those rights. Signed affidavits are also going out in the mail to all of those government officials. They have a certain amount of time here, I believe 3 days to respond. So those will be going out immediately. So that's it. We are here at Tillotson in Belmar, New Jersey. Murphy got his way. He is coming to change our locks. We're looking at a showdown because Frank and I will not be backing down. Any support that we get, whether you share this video, you come down and support us, you call Murphy, send more emails, it's all appreciated. We love you guys. See you on the other side.
There you go, brother. That was Ian Andrew. He's one of the owners of Attila's Gym in Belmar, New Jersey, where we went about a month and a half ago, almost 2 months now, back in May, early June. It's definitely a struggle for them. They have been at this fight for all the right reasons, pushing back against the governor and his abusive executive orders. This isn't, this is something just to remind everyone. He owns the gym. Isn't just your, an ordinary gym. It's a very large gym. They have multiple redundancies built into the system that they've actually added to it to make sure the air was clear and clean. They have an ultraviolet system that filters air filter system that helps to take care of the COVID. They've been very proactive about having people come in with getting a health screen before they can even start working out. They check their temperature. There's layer upon layer upon layer. This is not just a couple of guys who decided to open up. This is two businessmen who said, how can we effectively help our neighbor and keep them healthy, as well as making sure that they are healthy when they come here and they don't have to diminish the threat of getting sick. These guys stepped up, they're really an example for the entire the entire country. What they've done is they've made a show to put together a whole system for themselves to ensure that their customers are safe. And the governor, instead of embracing that, like somebody who says and sees like a leader should, says, "Oh, these guys are doing it right. We should maybe look at what they're doing and compliment them." Instead of doing that, the right thing, he does the wrong thing, which is attack them, fine them, martyr them in essence in every way possible legally to make them look bad, and calls them knuckleheads and things along those lines. He's been the type of he's shown everything wrong with what it is to be a leader. He is the epitome of what it is to be a bad leader. Yet the press continues to feed him to the public as if he's some great being and he's some perfect being. He's not. His executive orders are abusive, and he's unwilling to alter his stance on any of this. So share this message. Share the message that July 30th we're having. There's a rally that that a lot of good people put together. That's going to be right in front of the State House. It's at 10 a.m. You should show up. You should call your congressman. You should email. I'm sorry, your legislature in the Assembly and in the Senate. You should send them emails. You should reach out to them through the phone. And you know what? Make sure that they know what your feeling is on this. Because the only way we're going to get Murphy to back down is by showing an active participation that we disagree with what he is doing. And we knew, it's one thing, John, and I think the message might be lost in all this is it's one thing to have these rules put in place. It's one thing to have them, but when they're done by one person or a small group, that's an oligarchy. That's not a democracy. And what this guy has done is he turned himself into an oligarchy with his little, the lady that shall not be mentioned and the state police commandant. These guys are the people in charge making the decisions, but that's not what democracy is. The legislature is supposed to be the ones who make these decisions, and all they're trying to do is put pressure on this legislature right now to pass that a limit to these executive orders so that they have to be confirmed by the legislature. That's when it's done by the legislature, there's a legal basis behind it. Right now, there's no legal basis except for
James.
He's ruling by fiat.
I don't want to pop the bubble on that one, but Pennsylvania is a perfect example of that. That's not going to matter. That's the problem. Currently, the executive powers of Governor Wolf were such that he was granted a 30-day period of emergency powers with the understand with in the statute where it says but after 30 days the legislature could then do an up and down vote on whether they would extend those powers. Well, he decided to add to that statute by saying that, he has veto powers over that. Now, nowhere in the original statute is that language. He just made that up. It's a lie.
Of course he did.
It's a lie he told.
He's an oligarch.
For advantage, right? So then, though, they taken to the court. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court said that's right. That's the nonsense. So well, if that's the case, then if there's some kind of constitutional problem according to the Pennsylvania Constitution about requiring a governor veto and it not being a form of an actual law, well, then the original law has no effect, and he had no original power to declare an emergency. But because, like you said earlier, the court is on his side, and deciding to be on his side, it doesn't matter. So maybe the move to make for the Tillis guys is maybe they should have moved to disqualify this judge, because there's a federal procedure for disqualifying judges for and they have a pretty high standard. They can't do anything that's going to impugn the perception that they are not impartial. And so like you said, the forum shopping with this judge would indicate that there was some kind of back channel communications that need to be brought to the community. Now, what they got to lose? Because at this point, they're facing contempt, they're facing jail, maybe up to 6 months, without even a trial, because they refused to follow this handpicked judge and whatever back channels occurred between the Murphy people and the people prosecuting this and the judge. Now, why isn't all that out in the open? So maybe at this point, maybe they can move to make a little bit of a sting by moving to disqualify this judge. There is a federal procedure for it. But for our case in Pennsylvania, we're already at that step that you would ask for in New Jersey. And the difference in between the Pennsylvania Constitution and the New Jersey one is this. They redid, unfortunately, the New Jersey Constitution. They gave a lot of power to the New Jersey governor, and he's much more like a CEO,
Tin pot dictator.
Tin pot dictator. Well, the idea was he was going to be like a CEO type. So they gave him judicial powers, they gave him legislature powers, not these powers, but they gave him these upgraded powers, so he had more power to act. Whereas the Pennsylvania governor is the much more traditional, completely weak. He doesn't even have power over the police forces, in the sense that there's attorney general, that power split, the treasurer's power split. So he's like 1/6 of the just a figurehead. Yet he acts as King Wolf. And yet look at it, there's no difference between these people. I really worry about the poor Attilas guys, because I mean, you said the word martyr. Let's hope that they're only legal martyrs and not actual martyrs.
They want to lock them up, John. I mean, that's the message that they got told, that these guys are skating on thin ice. All I can say is, you're 100% right. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to talk about, take back the star. Because
take back the star.
The Take Back the Star campaign is where the people ultimately comes down to the Declaration of Independence, where when your government has decided, and not the federal government in this case, the state government has decided to violate your rights and violate your protections and is no longer working as a good civil servant to you. In essence, that's what the Declaration says. Then you have the right and you have the duty to break away from that political entity, to dissolve those bonds. Maybe it's time for parts of New Jersey to break up and become our own state. If it's what formed our country, then we should be able to form a state within that country. And I know that there, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, my brother and I are working on a paper on that right now, and we'll hopefully have that published not by the end of July, so maybe somewhere in the middle of August. We will hope to have it published and talking about how we can do this.
The legal and historical precedent.
The legal and historical precedent is what
for exactly county like Sussex County and Warren County to break away and say, now we're in the new state, the state of West New Jersey.
And if you think it hasn't happened, or you think it can happen, it already has happened, and it's happened for the exact reason that we discussed right here.
Violation of rights.
Violation of your rights and a violation of the Constitution. It's really
all right. We're 23 minutes in, brother. You want to go on to the next topic? Because you have your memes. You got your memes to hit.
Yes. We doing the memes now? We doing them now?
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Here are the memes. So what the memes my brother's talking about is, I've decided to start collecting memes, creating a topic and turning it into a video. We have a lot. This is a pro-Trump meme. Just to warn you, there is a rather negative picture of the president saying that somebody's number one. I'll let your imagination run on that one. But here we go, brother. brother.
That was awesome, brother. That was awesome. So you
Yeah.
can get them. Your idea is you want to spread those memes around.
Yeah, I want to. I mean, this is part of the message. The only way we're going to defeat the left is getting the message out about Trump. And you know what? These memes, you can stop it. You can go find them on your own. Even if you just Google search them, I'm sure you can find them. But this is spreading the message that they're out there. It's a meme war. So like these meme wars are just one more aspect of the overall struggle, like you were talking about, which amazingly you had a Facebook war. The fact that you even know how to do a Facebook war is, if any of you know my brother's technical skill, it's not very up there.
It didn't go well this way.
Well, but suffice it to say that is just one more aspect. The memes are just one more aspect of this war against the left and our fighting for our culture. I'm sure some of that may offend certain people, but I'll tell you what, it's one of the things that he had was, if you haven't offended a liberal yet, you're not working hard enough yet. So get the message out. We have to fight to save our country, and part of the way we fight is by fighting back with memes. So the next topic, I haven't really decided on what it is. My personal favorite and all that, believe it or not, was not one of Trump's, although I kind of did like what he said about not being bought. I did like the one with Jim Acosta being held by. That was pretty good. I couldn't resist. I had to put that one up. That one will guaranteed be in another one later on. Yeah. So I am in the hunt for more memes. If you have any, please share them. Send them to me on Facebook. You can also send them to the Ballistic Patriots Facebook page. I'll get get them there too. And that's it for me, brother. For the memes and for the update, we are done with that. So we are going on to the next section, which is yours.
Yes, history of slavery. Well, all right. Now the war on Facebook went like this. Okay, a ridiculous statement was made about white slavery and about how, it's a talking point of the alt-right, blah, 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 bullcrap from some article in the idiot New York Times. Now, I immediately responded in about an hour of typing away. Then I did like a left swipe or whatever, and it all disappeared. So I wound up having to go, geez. All I could do then was just put in there, well, the New York Times, I get it, joke. Because, of course, anybody who's listening to the idiot Times it says a screw loose, or is just listening to lies. And this is, of course, the paper of 1619 Project, covering up the Nazi Holocaust, covering up the Soviet Union, Stalin's Holocaust, and all the rest of it. And what you might not have known, actually participating in the Civil War on behalf of the slaves. So when we get to our cancel culture, that's one of the things we need to cancel is the New York Times. But
you mean
I get ahead of myself.
Participate on behalf of the South,
right? On the bad guys. So no, not the South. The Democrats in the Confederacy, okay. Right?
Yeah,
now,
did they promote Woodrow Wilson and his revisionist types of history?
I'm trying to do the history of the slaves.
I'm sorry.
That's one for you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So the history of slavery. Now the lie. Now everything from the left is a calculated deception. The lie, of course, is that slavery is the original sin of America. It's not. America is not a racist society. But the reason why they say that is because then, if it is the original sin of America, then they can destroy America. Transform America. Barack Obama bullcrap, right? Destroy America. Well, it's a lie. Of course, it's a lie because we know Asians, Orientals, whatever we're calling our friends from the East today. Of course, they do better than everybody else. They're more represented to the point in Harvard, where Harvard is racially discriminating against them and not letting them go there in the numbers that they are afforded by their merit. Right? They're more represented in higher incomes. They do better in schools. They do better in all the tests. If it was really a racist society, then they wouldn't do as well. But of course, it isn't a racist society, and they do well. Why do they do better? Well, there's a real simple reason. Because they work harder. They try harder by merit. They're not lazy like other people, and they're not spoiled like a bunch of other people. Now, there's also social economical reasons why they do it. They in the East, of course, the social reason why is that the children become the social program for retirement. They don't put you like on like an Eskimo. They don't put the old people on a float and push you off. They you live with your children. So for those reasons, they put a lot of pressure on how well they do in school, and they excel. But it goes to show you, if we were a racist country, that would never happen. Of course, that's the lie. Now, the calculated deception, of course, is that America is responsible for slavery. Now, this idiot from these, they found some fake historian from Ireland to confirm that there were no such thing as Irish slaves. Now, it's an area that I'm familiar with because I'm a big fan of William Penn. I've done a lot of history. Our mother, of course, was a first-rate historian. 50 years ahead of her time. One of my personal areas that she got me into was the 1600s, William Penn. And of course, that's when it really kicked off the English invasions of Ireland. They would go there routinely especially from Cromwell from mid-century on, but especially with James II, routinely sending English troops into Ireland, raping, murdering, killing all the men, grabbing the women, grabbing the children, bundling up, even to the point of a tattooing of branding the women with the slave ship names that they were going to set there, and then sent off to Jamaica. Now, Jamaica has a history of this. Yet, now let me be clear, there is no definitive historical study. Nobody's done a DNA study of the people in Jamaica and see how much Irish blood is in them. Nobody's done the, matching up all the people yet. That's still to be done, hasn't been done yet. But the Jamaican tradition is, of course, that they are one of many people. That's their motto is from many people one. And they have a tradition that they were Irish slaves who came to Jamaica. So the people like the various Democrats in the New York Times, and this particular Democrat named Larry, who I had the Facebook war with, are just a bunch of racists towards the Jamaicans who consider themselves, this is their ethnic background. Now, if you go on their websites today, Jamaica is still saying, look, we have these, quote, white Jamaicans because we have this tradition. But as you know from history, slavery is nothing America created. It's endemic to human civilization. Every civilization everywhere has always had slaves. There were the biggest slave markets were probably in China. The Romans had slaves. The Roman life expectancy in a mercury mine, which was horrific, was like a couple of months, and you died from mercury poisoning. There was nothing worse than being in a mercury mine and dying from mercury poisoning in a few months. It's horrible, okay? So not only was America not the invention of slavery, the slavery that the African-American experienced in America wasn't even the worst slavery at the time, and it wasn't even the worst condition at the time. For example, back to the Irish life expectancy in 1830 was 19. The African-American slave in America's life expectancy was 36. These are facts, undisputable facts. In America, Jefferson, as a slave owner, would give you a pound of meat to your average slave. In Ireland, the rich Irish ate potatoes 3 times a day, the poor once every 2 days. You might not see meat for an entire year. The African slave in America had log cabins. In Ireland, you lived in that was denuded of trees, so you had peat moss as heat, if that, or you just froze or shivered. The clothing that you wore was hand-me-downs from generations. And again, the deprecations of the English to the Irish didn't just go for 1 century. It lasted well up into the 1800s to maybe up to recent the 1900s, and was constant. And the Irish were shipped. The Irish who got out didn't have anything fare any better. As they came to America, they were used in places where the African slaves were not used, because the slaves were property. They were considered property at that point, and the Irish, they just died. So they were used down south in large numbers to create like canals, and died like flies because there was no there was no cost to the people who needed the work done. Whereas they wouldn't use the African slaves. Now, interestingly enough, it's even deeper than that. Okay, so the gravamen of the complaint against the so-called right wing was that they weren't slaves; they were, quote, indentured servants. Now, why do they call them indentured servants? Well, as you know, as a historian, there's an actual historical reason why they were called indentured servants, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's an interesting little defense of these nut jobs on the left, because actually, if you go into the actual history of 1619, the first slave ship who came here was caught. Was by a privateer, an English privateer, brought up to Virginia and sold. And the people, the African Americans that were in it, were sold, but they weren't sold as slaves. They were actually sold as indentured servants. Reason why is because by English law there was no such thing as a slave. Why? Well, because the history of the West was by that time the actual Pope. There were several encyclical bulls of the Pope outlawing slavery way back. It kept coming up again and again and again. That's why they originally called them serfs.
And John, if I could just—
You're not interrupting me, are you?
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to just point out that what you're talking about right now is also backed up in Paul Johnson's History of America. Stay away from the Howard Zinn bullcrap. This is
fake,
real history.
Fake history. Stay away from fake historian, communist par excellence, Howard Zinn. Now, so it was against the law, and that's why they called them indentured servants and serfs. Now, is there any difference between indentured servant or serf or a serf or a slave? No, of course not. As William Wallace says, what's the difference when they throw you off your land and your wife starves to death and they and your children starve? Actually, what they do is they would pass your wife around to the warriors, and then you would get then you starve to death and your children starve to death, or they use your children as slaves. But is there any difference? No. But it's interesting to note though that it was not. Now, it was not Americans that were enslaved. Number one, there's one really good reason why 1619 is so stupid. First of all, they were the British in charge then. It wasn't America in 1619. Hey, moron, the Constitution was written in 1789, not 1619. So that's, I figured it out, 77 years, right? Wait. No, that's... So if you give 1788 for the Constitution, right? 1789 for the Constitution, right? That's till 1860. There was only 77 years of American slavery. Before that, though, from 1619 to 1776, saying the Revolution, there was 157 years of British rule. And of course, we got rid of the British. But going with the presumption that this was America and America is evil in 1619, they weren't even slaves then for a really good reason.
Yeah, 170 years, brother.
Okay, they were indentured servants. Why? Well, the institution of slavery wasn't created yet. The story of creation of the institution of slavery on American soil is very interesting. The first generation, we'll call them the first shipload of slaves that came to America and in Virginia were sold. Now, the second, there was another boat. That went further north. Now, the great historian Barton and his son have made the point that there was always been a divide in America between what happens in Virginia and what happened up north in New England. The second ship wound up north in New England. That ship, when it put into New England, they seized the ship. The Americans, the proto-Americans there seized the ship, said, "Hey, wait a minute, that's against the Bible. That's called man stealing." And they actually locked up the ship captain and the enslavers and set free the slaves. And that's why it was a tradition up north that they could vote. Black people could vote. They were just other citizens because they'd been set free. Now, in the down south, though, they weren't taken in as slaves. They were technically taken in as indentured servants until a little known case happened. What happened was this: after like 7 years or whatever, the indentured servant, and I'm still looking into the facts, all the facts, the first boatload was set free. They'd done their work. They worked on a farm and they were set free. Now, one of these gentlemen, a African-American slave by the name of Anthony Johnson, that was his British name. I'm not going to say it's American because he wasn't American. But Anthony Johnson started his own farm, a tobacco farm, because that's what they're selling, and was very successful. He bought indentured servant whites and indentured servant blacks. Well, one of these second generation, we'll call them second generation of indentured servant blacks, wanted, after the time of his indentured servant was up, wanted to be to go work at another farm. Now, this man's name was, and it's important to remember for history, this man's name was John Casser, right? He wanted to work on the next door neighbor farm because he wanted to sell his services at a higher rate. So John Casser took Anthony Johnson the original, the first generation of indentured servant to court. And good old Anthony Johnson used the defense, the same defense that these racist leftists, like the one I got into Facebook named Larry, I hope you're really watching, and the New York Idiot Times used today. And it was this. John Kasser didn't sign any indentured servitude. So technically he's a slave. Just like all those Irish kids, all those Irish children, all the Irish women who were bound up and grabbed, didn't sign anything. So they were slaves. And the New York Times are a bunch of morons. But unfortunately, that judge back then there said yes. And because he said yes, that judicial proceeding said yes, John Kasser became the first slave. So the first slave was enslaved by a black man in America by the name of Anthony Johnson. Now, do we throw out all the blacks? No, of course not, because that's ridiculous, because that's just history. And it's endemic to human history of slavery. Now I'm going to get all biblical, because here's the reason why it came up to me. The reason why, of course, is who ended slavery? Well, America ended slavery, and the British Navy ended slavery, and colonialism actually ended slavery because because when they carved up Africa into slavery into actual nations, the African tribes could no longer steal and fight each other, and so then France would fight England for the rights of the people, and it became impossible to trade people. Well, except for the Muslims who continue to do it to this day. So they did it and we did. Now, why did America end slavery? America ended slavery because it was a religious movement, because the Bible, good old John, in John 15:15, I call this the freedom gospel. In it, Jesus is right before his trial, is having his Last Supper. And of course, remember that the historical context is that John wrote his gospel because it's literally one half of it is Holy Week, and it wasn't done in the first three gospels enough that he wanted to make sure and memorialize the entire last week of Holy Week because it was so important. He didn't want to miss anything. And so in it is the story where Jesus is at the table and he says to them, in John 15:15, I call it the freedom gospel. He says this: I don't call you slaves, I call you friends, because a slave does not know the mind of his master. And I've told you everything that the Father has told me to tell you. Follow my ways, and I will call you friends, and you will be the friends of Jesus. And then he goes on and says, you have to, serve your fellow man, do what I do. He takes off his robes and he washes all their feet. Now, this was so traumatic and an impossible thing to say that word slave has been mistranslated throughout almost 2,000 years of history. Now, in it was so mistranslated that even Paul, the Apostle Paul, when it came time for him to live up to those words, could not do it. And he's told Philemon in his great letter to Philemon, it's the letter of Philemon, a slave gets out, gets free, Onesimus comes to him, and he sends him back to Philemon, because even the great Paul did not have the guts to destroy the Roman Empire and the history of slavery way back then. We've been 2,000 years of working out that history. And this is the land of freedom from that. Now, what's so interesting is that if you read Philemon, he's talking about, he says, don't call him a slave anymore, call him like a brother in Christ, but a servant in Christ, just like you. Now, there's only one word for slave in Greek, and it's doulos. So it's been mistranslated. It is only possible that it was slave. And it's been mistranslated as bondservant, as servant, as everything else, indentured servant if you want, all this other nonsense. But Jesus was very specific. He said slave, and it was recorded as slave for a reason. Now, why is it so important with Philemon? Well, Onesimus, what does Onesimus mean? Onesimus means in Greek, useful. So you think about that for a second. Even back then, 1,800 years before America, 1,700 years before America, here was a baby who was born to a woman who the slave master took the baby from this poor mother and said, well, I'll call you useful. Hopefully you'll be useful when you grow up. That's the nonsense of the human condition. And the only thing that's been able to save us from that is, of course, the good word and the good word. And America is literally the working out of the good word. America is not the sin of slavery. It is not born from the sin of slavery. It is the cure to slavery, because it is literally the good book taken into political practice. It is literally the lessons of Jesus taken into political practice. And these creeps who run around bad-mouthing America are despicable. They should be called out for what they are. They are the new enslavers. They are the new slavers, and they are the most racist bunch of punks on the face of the planet today. These leftist whites and unfortunately a lot of racist American black people. Not all of them, just the spoiled ones who are dumb enough to fall for this lie, this communist perverted lie that America is about slavery. And that's my rant. But I got more stuff on that. I got a part 2 for next week.
Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to Portland, right?
All right.
So the discussion on Portland, there's been about, I think it's like 70 days that Portland's been having unrest every night. For those of you who don't know it, Portland's in Oregon. It's on the West Coast. But I just want to make that clear because I know that a lot of people I've talked to don't even know where Portland is in some cases. And so what's been going on? There's been riots. There's been attacks on the police, very much like Seattle, except for also going on in Portland. President Trump has sent federal troops in, or federal officers, not troops, to guard the federal buildings. According to the law, he's entitled to do that. He's supposed to do that because he's supposed to protect the property of the federal government. That's his job as the executive. Just on a side note, John, not completely unrelated, but partially unrelated. I don't know if you heard, but Governor, the Greater Cuomo, the governor of New York has ordered De Blasio, Commie De Blasio, to start cleaning up New York City. So get all the graffiti down that the leftist mob has been painting all over it.
That must look bad.
It does. It looks terrible. But this is what we see all over the entire country in all the big cities like Portland. So what's going on in Portland?
I'm proud of Ventilator, Governor Ventilator.
The Greater Cuomo.
Over there, Ventilator over here.
The non-muscle bound one.
Wait a minute, how come you sent me a meme of a New York girl? Obviously, she's a New York girl. I love her. I would love to meet this woman.
Tina Forte. You're talking about Tina Forte. She nails it.
Why don't you put that on?
Well, because that does. I mean, you know what? I should. Next week.
I don't know if you could, because all you have to do is just remind me. You just have to do that. If you suck a certain thing one time, that's just. What, you get called that forever?
She's great. She's great. What? Anyway. She's great. So anyway, I'm going to play 3 videos consecutively. They are videos on the ground in Portland. They are from a guy who I'm guessing he's with the mob. He seems he just kind of is videoing it, but he definitely is sympathetic towards the mob. So here's 3 videos in succession.
You are on video, and we are filming you. You immediately stop firing fireworks.
So I don't know if you could tell, but there's people who were dropping fireworks down on them. Was the police were walking through there at the very end. You could see them arresting somebody.
That is so stupid. You know what it is? These Marxist perverts, and that's what Antifa is, a bunch of Marxist perverts. They really are, and they're trying to get they're trying to get the police to shoot people, so that they can use that as an excuse. They're deliberately trying it. They need it.
They have like 70 police officers who've been wounded, some of them blinded. They've had glass, and then one coming up, there's glass being thrown at them. It's a bad scene there. It's a bad scene, but it's continuing. Go ahead. What else were you going to say, brother?
Yeah, when I'd heard that they're going to use RICO laws against the federal power of the judiciary, the federal power of the federal law enforcement is based on the RICO laws against racketeering, of course, against the mob, the original mob. And I'd heard that it's one of the moves that Trump was trying to do in the Chicago was to send in the troops to do a surge of federal officers so that they could use then the RICO law to hunt some of these networks down of these little Marxist perverts and their brick throwing attempts to start the police shooting so that they can shooting at innocents. I'm sure or knuckleheads, idiot kids that are dumb enough to think that they're protesting for something.
Well, this is also the group of federal officers who have been called by Nancy Pelosi, the imposter House of Representatives speaker. She went in there and said that these police officers were stormtroopers, that they were dressed up in black clothing, and they were sneaking and stealing people off the streets. If you see the video, if you watch the video, you'll see, and the head of Homeland got up and did a whole thing on this. He said, he held up the uniforms that the vests these guys are wearing. It says police on the front, it says police on the back. They're tactical vests. In other words, they're going into a tactical situation. And in one of the videos, you will see that they are not the only ones dressed tactically. The other side is dressed up very tactically in kind of like homemade gear, but certainly it's not something that peaceful protesters would be wearing.
All right.
So,
are you going to do another video?
I got 2 more videos to show you.
All right, hurry up because we're at 52.
All right. You can see the graffiti in the background. That's the signs. Before I go on to the next one, I just want to read something from an article from Fox News. The chaos in Portland saw rioters break through a reinforced fence surrounding the Marco Hatfield U.S. Courthouse in the city's downtown. The courthouse has been a target for rioters. We have repeatedly been vandalized and damaged the building over multiple nights. Federal officers have recently been assigned to the building. The huge crowd outside the courthouse included the Wall of Moms and the Wall of Vets. Meanwhile, a Portland resident told Fox News last week that Antifa has been present at all the protests. Gabriel Johnson, who's the gentleman that they're talking about, a 48-year-old black man and retired Marine, said that after he went to protest outside the courthouse with his American flag in hand on July 19th, he was called racial slurs, and members of Antifa followed him home. So in other words, he went out there to support the Fed, and he went out there to the federal government and to support the officers there. These people, he said, have nothing to do with Black lives. Our Black community leaders need to stand up and lead, because what's happening is they're letting a group of terrorists that don't represent me use me, and that's not right, said Johnson. So that's from the ground. And there's also this last video, John. You can see from that video, people were wearing helmets. People were using leaf blowers to push away the smoke. There was also all kinds of reports of fireworks being used, explosions going on. These protesters are not peaceful in any stretch of the imagination. If they were going to be peaceful, they would. First of all, there's no reason for them to show up at night, late at night. Peaceful protests, all the peaceful protests I've ever seen have been during daylight hours when the average citizen is able to go. on the weekends usually, but maybe not because I've done them during the week. But they've been during the day. These are at night. There's a reason why they're at night, so it's harder to see who's doing what, and they're able to get away with more bad things. This is not a peaceful protest. It never was, and still is not going to be. And Gabrielle is 100% right. Gabrielle Johnson. We need to encourage our president to continue this fight. This is something that's bad for our country. And as I said before, this is just another reason that the Democrats want this to continue, and this is a reason why it's happening in Democrat-controlled cities, is because the more turmoil they create, the more likely you're going to feel like the country isn't doing right, and there's less chance that people are going to vote for President Trump. Although the counter-argument is a lot more people are going to vote for President Trump if he's standing up, and if the Republicans stand up behind him. And John, I don't know about you, but I haven't seen many of the Republicans stand up, and other than you and me and a handful of bloggers and the average ordinary people. But these people that we elect to represent us, where the hell are they? They are AWOL from this fight so far. Many of them are checking out. And if they're saying something that's very menial, and I mean, like Mitt Romney, wait a second.
I still didn't get my cowbell in the mail. You said it.
Yeah.
Cowbell, more cowbell.
Mitt
Romney. Go ahead, Mitt Romney.
Somebody's sleeping down the hallway, so I can't go too loud. But
okay, all right.
You know, people like him walking with the protesters instead of standing up for the people. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
All right, we got 5 minutes.
All right, go ahead. Your turn.
All right, so I can't go. What do you want me to do? VP pick or cancel? Well, you know what? It's a good segue. There's one guy.
Cancel culture. Save the cancel culture for. I'll get his video. I'll put it up. We'll put our video next to it. We talk about it. So save that one. Do your
save
VP
that
pick.
for now. All right, then we'll make a call because I got a list of stuff on that one. But then I will move on to our VP, our editor's corner for our VP pick of the Biden campaign, the so-called nuclear option. And who is that?
The nuclear option? You mean Dr. Strangelove?
No. Who is it to pick for? He's not going to pick Dr. Strangelove. Who's Biden going to pick?
Oh, the nuclear option for VP is Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. Now, a genius in Hollywood by the name of James Woods, who's just absolutely the best, right? He's the best. Has predicted that she was going to be the pick. Now, it's not just crazy. Dick Morris, who we love because he had a conversion of God and who knows the Clintons very, very intimately. He's the guy who really got Clinton elected. And he knows both of them very late. Then he found God, and then he became conservative, which is the natural course of things. After the Ladies of the Evening event, but he also believes that Hillary is in cahoots with good old Bloomberg, and they expect to take over the convention. But I just can't see that happen because we're not going to really have a convention because Joe can't survive a convention. So there is the question. Is this real? Well, actually, the Las Vegas odds have moved her up to 5th place as a potential pick for VP. So we have to consider it seriously. So her odds have actually increased. Now, she's 72 years old. She has one child. She went to Wellesley College and Yale School. Now, we evaluate these candidates for vice president based on race, experience, abortion, looks, competency, and then the it factor. And then we add it all up and see which way, how she would go against the, where it's actually a viable choice. All right. So first, race. Well, now this is a big negative for her because everything she got was because of her white privilege. It's not good. Literally everything was because of white privilege. You could say, she went to the best school, Wellesley, and she went to Yale. She was one of these radical Yale. It's still, you know what, James? It still has not been released. Her thesis about who's the not radical for who's the radical leftist.
Weatherman Underground. I can't remember his name.
But it's no.
Solinsky.
Saul Alinsky, right? She's still not been released about her thesis. It's still been exposed. But everything, then she went to Yale. She became a lawyer. Then she married Bill. Everything literally comes from the marriage of Bill. Just like Elizabeth Warren, divorced her first husband and then married a law professor, got into the law professor business, and everything she has is from who she married. So I guess Elizabeth Warren, hey, E. Warren, you didn't build that either. You didn't even build your career. Everything from Hillary is from her white privilege. So I have to give her a big negative on that. Now, experience. Now, this is a big positive because remember, she was co-president with Bill. She actually, and this is Brotherhood of Liberty brother Christopher keeps making this point. This maniac actually demanded that she had the vice president's offices when Bill won. That's how insane she is, right? So she actually, and in her mind, of course, ruled with Bill. I'm sure it's ruled too with Bill when he was president. Not only that, she has a new Hulu a TV series coming out, which
she probably spent some time in the Oval Office too, John.
She spent no time in there with Monica. That was the problem. No time in there. Well, when he had the Secret Service protect, cut that door, right, or give him, big wig walking on the move or something, right? But she actually has, I don't know if you know this, she has a new Hulu series out, to soon to be coming out, where she won. And of course, she's famous for saying in her own mind, she still says that she beat Trump. So she actually believes she is president right now. It's not an alternative history that Hulu's coming up with. It's in her psychological dementia. She believes.
I can't wait for that. We will be piecing that apart.
Piecing that apart. Yes.
We have to pull that apart and laugh at it.
So for experience-wise, I have to give her a big positive because in her mind, of course, she's already won. She's already president. So she'll be, if she was vice president, she'll go, well, it's a step down for me, but I'll take it. Right? So now for abortion. Right, it's only abortion. So for category number 3, abortion. Well, for this, she actually won the Margaret Sanger Award. We have to do a whole show on that, James, because everything we said about the Negro Project and Margaret Sanger is now coming to fruition. Good old Larry Elder's Don Lorenzo himself has pointed out in his movie, great movie about that. And actually, Planned Parenthood is now taking down the name of the building of Margaret Sanger. But before that, of course, Hillary won a Margaret Sanger Award. So 4 points. So she gets a positive for that. Looks, she's better looking than Elizabeth Warren. She is younger Hillary. You don't think so? Well, if it wasn't for John. Elizabeth Warren, if it wasn't for the crazy evil stare that's looking from Crazy Horse from Crazy Horse there, would be more attractive younger. But now, come on,
John,
Hillary's a positive. She's better looking than Elizabeth Warren.
I have to throw this meme in there. How is President Trump president?
How?
How does President Trump sleep at night? Never mind. You know what? Just continue.
Put that one up. Quick, go on your computer.
No, it's okay.
All right, competency. Her competency, evaluating for competency. That's a big negatory. She's a freaking lawyer. And this is why you can never let lawyers in charge. Benghazi, anybody? Benghazi? Obama, a lawyer. Okay. You cannot let them in charge of anything. They are completely incompetent. So a big negative. She gets a big negative. So we move on to the it factor. The it factor, the charisma. You as a recent political contender, James, you got it. You got the personal charisma, the ability to talk to people, the ability to make people like you just by meeting them. You're friendly. Big Jim is a friendly guy, right? Does she have the it factor? No. Greedy, grasping, vindictive shrews do not have the it factor. So I had to give her a big negative on that. So that's 3 positives and 3 negatives. So I'm going to have to ask you, what's your thoughts? Because we're 50-50 on this.
John, this is the part where I'm going to play my video that I told you about before with from the ancient Greeks. This is where I show that video.
Okay.
It won't be long before they fear my spears more than your whips.
Especially qualified to be vice president.
So
of course,
that's what it all comes down to.
So it all comes down to puts the hands
Does-
on.
Yes.
We'll
Does
have,
she-
a better video of that with more. I think I'm going to do that whole scene with Joe Biden quotes. I think that's what needs to be done.
Does she like the back rub? And the answer to that is, of course not. Well, that's why Monica happened, Jennifer Flowers, and all the rest of it. So
Yeah.
there's no way that she's going to be. She doesn't like the back rub. So beauty, Jim. That was awesome.
It's perfect.
Beauty, James, beauty, brother. That was perfect. That was a perfect way, I guess, to end it for the week.
All right, brother. And just a couple programming notes. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6:30, we have my show, High Speed Politics is what it's called. I'm hoping to have a guest on this week, and I'll be reporting Thursday night after the rally. Hopefully, I'll have some video for you to be able to see. No guarantees. I might have to make that one a little bit later just because of the timing on when I'll get back and having to take care of stuff at home. Anything else you want to say, brother, before I hit the out?
How come it's not ballistic politics?
High speed politics is what it is right now. Okay. I am looking to have a terminal politics, or not in interior politics, interior ballistics politics, and then exterior ballistic patriot politics,
and terminal ballistics.
It's possible. I actually have to meet up with a couple people this week. We're looking to have some other people take on. If you are interested in doing a show, or you have a show idea, please feel free also to reach out. We're always looking for talent and always looking for people who want to express their talent. God love you, brother. You take care of yourself.
Yes, God does love you.
God does.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
Aye, aye, Admiral Butthead.
So don't mess with me.
I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
I pray for the president all the time.
Ugh, back to the lock with you, Nessie.
I've now been in 57 states.
He's what we designate as the crummy moronic
You
type.
didn't crawl out from under no rocks. We didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys. You wait till you stick pinko meat in.
Donald Trump no longer has the capacity to break my heart.
I'm not pissed. You've seen me pissed. This is way, way beyond pissed.
Now it's a party!
Don't try to be funny, will you, meathead?